already had a plan put together to say, long before you ever get there, Adam, I'm going before you to take care of all of it. It's good to know heaven talked about us this morning. Oh, not like people talk about us. No, God's looking out for his children. And God says you're going to need some things down the road. But God goes before us. So we see this conversation of the Lord talking about this need and the Lord coming up with a way to meet this need. But the problem of it was, with Adam not being there and Adam not being aware, Adam not attending the conversation, God said Adam has a need, but he don't know it. So I'm going to have to somehow cultivate this need in his life to let him know that he has need of a helpmeet. Now, if you just read it from verse 18 to verse 19 and 20, God talks about this need, and then all of a sudden in verse 19, it's like he changes directions. He starts creating fowls of the air, beasts of the field, and he tells Adam, I want you to name them. Well, Adam's the one that has the need. Why is God creating all of these things in nature? What does that have to do with Adam having his need for a helpmeet? Because God knows Adam doesn't see his need. He's not aware that he needs a helpmeet. He's not aware of his problem that's coming down the road. So God creates all of this in nature, brings it to Adam and says, now you name it. And whatever you call it, that's what it'll be called. Now you'll find something different about the nature God created from man. God created man from the dust of the earth. And God created woman from the man. But you don't read where that God, when he creates the beast of the field or the fowl of the air, where he creates the male of the beast or the male of the fowl and creates the female from the male. No, in fact, that's how we know what happened in this passage. He brings them to Adam. So here's Adam. Here comes the cattle. There's a male and a female. There's a bull, there's a heifer. Adam names them. He brings all of the other beasts, the dogs. Here comes the male and the female. The cats, the male and the female. Can you imagine he named all of nature that God had made? And somewhere along the line, it finally dawned on Adam. Wait a minute. There's two of everything, but there's only one of me. And the Bible says it dawned on him so greatly that Adam realized there was not a helpmeet for him. Why does everyone else have somebody else and I have nothing? Do you know what God was doing? He was cultivating the need in his life. Do you know something? You'll never have your needs met until you realize that you have a need. They that are well have no need of a physician, the Bible says, but they that are sick. People that are well, they don't feel the need to go to the doctor. But when they get sick, they feel the need to go. The Lord's saying that's the way we are. If we don't see our need, we're not going to ask God to meet our need. So he brings the nature and he names everything. And then he sees the fact that there's not a helpmeet there for him. And that's how God says, Adam, if you want the same thing as everything else I've created, I can give that to you. You see now that you have a need. See, the only thing worse than seeing that you have a need is not trusting God to supply your need. This need, it was impossible for Adam to feel this need himself. He could not do what God could do for him. Adam could not create woman. God had to do that. He had to do that from man. So we see what happens. He says, Lord, I have this need, so I'm going to rely on you fully. So God causes a deep sleep to come on him. The first thing that will happen if you have a need in your life, you're going to have to learn to rest in the Lord. You're going to have to say, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go into a deep sleep of God's peace and say, Lord, you're going to take care of all of it. I can't meet the need anyway. It's too big for me. I can't do anything about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rest in you. It's almost like somebody that goes through surgery. They're saying, I rely on the surgeon. So they put them under with anesthesia. When they're under, they don't know what that doctor's doing, what that surgeon is doing. But they have full confidence in them. Why, surgeons can make a mistake. But friend, can I tell tell you, God has never made a mistake. He has not failed one time. You mean that you can trust man, and you're telling me that you can't trust God with your need? I'm here to tell you tonight, you can rely on God. He always knows what you need and can supply your need according to his riches and glory. Now, if you want your need met, it's the same way. Same thing he went through. First, he's relying on God. Then he's resting in God. And then God is reaching inside of him. And takes something out of him. Lord, I want you to meet my need, but I don't want you to take anything from me. But the truth of the matter is, if God meets your need, usually there's something inside of us that has to come out. God reaches inside of us and he says, I want to take that out, but you've got to allow me to do it. But God knows where to reach. He knows what to get. He knows what to use. He knows what will work. When nothing else works, he sees exactly what will work. Now, when God reached in, the Bible says he took a rib. Somebody asked me one time, I get a lot of questions, a lot of Bible questions. They asked me the question, why did God take a rib? You know what I wrote him back and told him? Because he could. He don't have to explain himself. He did it because he could. He knew what he was doing. And the amazing thing about that is, when he went in, he took a rib. It doesn't say that he took a bone from the hand. It doesn't say that he went in and took a piece of bone from the leg. It doesn't say that he took a piece of bone from his skull. He took a rib. He took a rib. He took a what? A rib. You say, preacher, have you lost your mind? You're excited about that. I read some things, and just because you read it doesn't mean it's true. And I started checking with some doctor friends. They do surgery. You know, it's not uncommon when they do surgery. Like if you have lung surgery, for example, they will remove a rib to get in to do the surgery. And I asked the doctor, I said, what do you do when you remove a rib like that? Do you put it back? He said, you can't put it back. Well, I didn't know. I said, you can't put it back. And he said, but you know something, preacher, you may not be aware of this, but out of all the bones in your body, the rib sits down inside of a cradle at its base. Almost like if you can imagine, if you'd peel a banana and you have the banana in the middle, and he said what we do, we reach in and we remove that just like you'd remove a banana from the peel. But the base of the peel is still there. Do you know you have one bone in your body that'll grow back and rejuvenate and regenerate? You've only got one bone in your body that'll do that. Guess what it is? The rib. Am I preaching now? Now, how do you think God knew that? I've heard preachers preach, and I'm not scolding anybody. I thought the same thing. They've preached for years and said that's why women have one less rib than men. That's not true. They got the same amount of ribs as a man, because God reached in and took it out, and then he sealed the flesh up and restored the flesh